golden bough was filled with tension, its walls seemingly absorbing the gravitas of the meeting underway. Samuel stood waiting for the others to arrive, his face a mask of determination. His eyes spoke of both desperation and resolve, knowing the significance of this gathering. Soon, the rest arrived. Eden moved confidently through the room, dressed in her usual attire, the blindfold she wore concealing her eyes. She greeted every rogue that came through the door with warmth, her smile enigmatic, warding off questions about her condition with a calm, yet ambiguous assurance. Her demeanor belied the calamities threatening to engulf them all. Oiji walked in with a purpose etched into his face. He looked at Samuel, his old comrade, and sat beside him. "Dost, comrade," he said in greeting, his voice carrying an underlying tone of urgency. Zinhera entered the golden bough, her countenance having gained strength since the last harrowing foray into the wild. Seeing her allies, she nodded. Well met. Her eyes still bore the lines of her recent struggles, but the familiar faces brought a measure of calm. From atop a nearby tower, Nazareth, the self-proclaimed God King, looked upon the streets below. The maddened wilders scattered across the settlement festered in his thoughts, and his fury swelled. The streets were growing even more chaotic. He moved swiftly to the tavern, only to find a sign on the door reading, "Food shortage. Closed indefinitely." Frustrated, he took his rage out upon a wilder who had dared to come close, smashing its head against the side of a building with ruthless efficiency. Wiping the blood on his cloak, he muttered, "The weaklings must be scattered within, prattling about these matters. There better be a drink for me." Nazareth entered the establishment, his eyes scanning the room, fury igniting at the sight of the mage and witch, yet quickly diverted to Eden, who had nursed him back to health. His face softened for a moment. Will Toth's broad shoulders pressed against the door. A large tray was stacked atop several mugs in his hands, preventing him from using it naturally. The tray contained a modest stack of palm-sized biscuits, 2 bowls containing a colorful mash, and a small pile of thinly sliced meats with clear grill marks. The scent of sweet fruits and rich curry wafted from the foods as air rushed into the room from the hallway. Hardtack made from stale loaves, overripe fruits, and curried meats. "Food shortage or no, we still need to eat," he declared as he set the tray down. "And a light ale to drink. No shortage of ale." His dry chuckle carried a hint of cheer amid the tension. After he distributed the mugs, he addressed the gathered. "Oiji, 'tis good to see thee again. Zinhera, I hope ye and Ayanga are recovering. Samuel, 'tis comforting to see thee resting. Eden, take a seat. Wandering about will make the others uneasy." Finally, his gaze landed on Nazareth. "Nazareth, thou hast blood upon thy cloak." He pointed casually. Samuel broke the ice. Samuel says as he glances around the table, "I shall begin." His gaze falls on each person in turn, and though he looks at Nazareth in the same manner as everyone else, his eyes speak of skepticism and doubt. "We are assailed on 2 fronts, and we must act ere both grow into problems." Samuel taps his finger upon the table they are sitting at, making an audible knock. "On one hand, we have wilders within the settlement, wreaking havoc upon the safety of those who dwell herein." Tapping his finger once again, he punctuates his next point with the same knock. "And on the other, a beast sabotageth our food supplies, and as Willem hath said, we still need to eat." Samuel continues to shift his gaze from person to person. Both of these threats must be faced, or our very survival may be forfeit. I am best suited to deal with the intrusions within the tower settlement, but I can assist with hunting the creature, should my skills be deemed better suited for that task. Yet I shall not depart until the safety of this community is secured. Nazareth sits and motions for a drink more casually than his usual mannerisms permit, then speaks. Thou art more uptight than I have seen thee ere now, warrior. He grins. Fear becometh thee not. I have heard of thy bout with the fighters of the House of Tiny Lies, and how it left thee crippled for a time. What maketh thee think thou can defend this town from what is to come? What made thee think thou couldst take on the 7-path tunnels after being laid low by us? Samuel responds, his stoic gaze tinged with irritation. I hear my share of rumors as well. But to answer thy question, alone I would be hard-pressed to defend this town from anything. But together, success can be achieved. Samuel glances at Eden, her ability to enthrall the guards of the House of Tiny Lies fresh in his mind, before turning back to those assembled at the table. My encounters with the House of Tiny Lies have taught me this. It is why I am here, to devise a plan going forward. Why art thou here, though? He asks Nazareth. Thou dost not often seek aid, save there be aught thou dost desire in return. As he finishes his sentence, a shadow passes by the nearby window. Oh, I had forgotten the ambushers. Add them to the list of concerns. Nazareth's sinister grin deepens at the comment. I have recovered from that cowardly 4-against-1 showing ages ago. It troubleth me no longer, warrior. His grin disappears. I have heard tell of the creature that terrorizeth the verdant lands. It is said to be a legendary beast, capable of devouring men whole, and those who escape its maw soon become stricken with madness. Nazareth takes a long sip of his drink. I heard this place be an adventurer's guild that giveth jobs such as these to those both willing and strong enough. This creature's threat seemeth dire enough to collapse thy entire way of life here, and I am capable of averting such a fate. But, of course, hiring me for such a task will yield a 100% guarantee of success, and so I request more than mere coin for such peril. My requests are in no way dangerous to any of thy well-being, and shall chiefly aid me in defeating this beast. What sayest thou, warrior? Wilt thou allow the future king of the world to destroy that which causeth thee all such anguish? Oiji takes a mug of ale and passes the bread around as he listens. He downs his ale before speaking. Wolf, my liege, he says, giving Nazareth a nod of deference. If I may, from what I have gathered, the beast in the east is the cause of all these troubles. The ambushers, the wilders, and the food shortage all stem from that. Oiji takes a moment to lock eyes with Samuel before continuing. I deem it prudent that our wounded remain in the settlement. Besides, I have need of the Wolf of the Golden Bough. Thy presence and force of will have been educational, Samuel. Thine and Zinhera's abilities have served best here thus far, and I see no reason to change that. As for thee, my liege, I assist where and if I can. I cannot speak for the others gathered here, but if the crux of our worries beginneth with the beast in the east, then I cannot see thee going alone. We know little of this creature, and though some of us gathered may see not eye to eye, I, for one, would not wish to lose a soul such as thine to such a foe. I would accompany thee, if thou wilt have me. What dost thou require of me? Nazareth listens to Oiji closely, and folds his hands before responding, gazing upon him with scrutiny. I have heard thou art no longer a mage, but a forge master now. They say thou slewest a 50-foot giant in the mountains, taketh its sword, and wore its skin for warmth, until thy descent back down. Be these idle tavern tales, or is there truth to these rumors? Oiji laughs heartily. Nay, that credit is not mine. In truth, 'twas but the wolf, the storm, and the spiritist who felled the djinn. I was, as thou saidst, a forge master seeking materials. My bent for the arcane is best expressed through mine own forge. Willem sits quietly as the two men bicker, though his interest is piqued when Oiji addresses Nazareth. He listens closely to both before waving a hand dismissively. I had naught to do with the djinn's flight. His fingers tap idly against his mug as he gathers his thoughts. Finally, he speaks. Kings come and go, Nazareth. Some reign longer than others. Yet two types of kings have short reigns. Those who trust individuals thirsty for power, and those who neglect their subjects. The former find themselves poisoned or with a knife driven deep into their back. The latter find themselves without a head. The man heaves a soft sigh, letting his words settle before continuing. Contracts at the Golden Bough are open. Thou accepteth a contract of thine own volition and complete it to Eden's satisfaction, and the bough payeth thee. Shouldst thou require aid, consider asking plainly. I am sure we all share interest in dealing with this threat to the settlement, and the best kings, the ones who live longest, certainly do not wish to see their subjects suffer. Nazareth's gaze shifts to the man who speaks so suddenly and arrogantly to him. He wonders whether the man is ignorant of the death sentence he inviteth upon himself, or simply a tad touched. He decides to calm himself further, though not without great effort. Thou speakest either as a warrior full of confidence, or a child seeking the attention of his betters by being loud and unruly, and I have not yet decided which. But thou hast my attention. Who art thou? Willem smiles. Nearly everyone in the Tower settlement has seen the spirit caller at work. His display of mastery over the dead at the artist's execution was quite the spectacle. Only Nazareth and his loyalists missed the seance. I was a warrior once, a guardian in a small village that crossed a mighty river. After I departed, that village grew into a city. That was well before thou wert born. I am no child, and I am confident in the lessons I have learned in life, and those I have learned from death. I am the spirit caller, and my dominion is over death. The man's tattoos glowed with a turquoise light as a spirit manifested next to him. Please fetch us a pitcher and refill our mugs. The spirit, a barmaiden who perished in the artist's attack, nodded and headed toward the bar. Willem's attention returned to Nazareth. It is thee, Nazareth, who acteth like a petulant child. It would be wise to show respect unto thine elders, for who knoweth? One day thou may find thyself at mine own beck and call, or perchance I shall aid thee in finding peace. As the spirit returned with the pitcher of ale, Willem continued, Now let us set aside petty posturing and name-calling. We have a monster to reckon with. Even as he spoke, his tattoos continued to glow. Fading into the background, Zinhera listens to the others, their exchanges laced with thinly veiled antagonism. As she does, a scratching sensation gnaws at the back of her mind. Ayanga seems to relish this chaos, the tinderbox of personalities in this small space, with Nazareth so near. Yet Zinhera, the human, keeps a tight rein on things and stands to speak. The verdant East hath long been our breadbasket, but to mine own knowledge, none of us hath spent much time therein. We have heard naught from Alay and her warband in quite some time. Our streets art now overrun by the beings who once called it home, desperate, violent, and mad. She pauses, letting her words hang in the air before continuing. Is their madness treatable? I know not. Doth confronting the beast bring about such madness? Again, I cannot say. Yet I cannot discount the chance that warriors who triumph against the beast may return broken in mind, if not body. Thus, I propose we capture one of these maddened wilders to study this madness. She glances at Eden, the only other one present who hath demonstrated a knowledge of healing rather than destruction. Unless any among thee hath sorcery or methods yet unspoken that may be of use, I propose we gather sense or secrets from such a wilder. If it hath heard tales of this beast or encountered it firsthand, we may glean a weakness to exploit. Or perhaps I might discover a way to reverse the damage those who battle it may suffer. She raises her hands in a gesture of openness. All this is but a chance. Yet I deem failure leaveth us no worse off than we are now. Otherwise, I shall avail myself to the Golden Bough and the settlement, protecting our food stores and the people within. I have spent enough time delving into places unknown for now, and I owe this place a debt. Samuel takes a sip from his cup and then speaks again. I do agree. We need more information than what is presently available. As Oiji saith, I am best suited to remain within the settlement. From here, I can labor to capture some of these maddened wilders. I have spent ample time patrolling these streets, and I believe I shall have the upper hand. Their knowledge would prove a great boon to us. He takes another swig before continuing. But the feral familiars might pose a greater threat. Being ambush predators, they could undermine our efforts to capture and confine their former masters. Not to mention the general danger they pose. Zinhera nods. Any means the wilders once had to control these familiars is frankly beyond our resources to replicate at this time. Were we not under siege, we might consider how to train them ourselves, but that luxury is not ours. I reckon any familiars we encounter must be dispatched immediately. I have a friend who would be eager to assist in such work. She looks to Willem. Will, if I bring forth a maddened wilder, dost thou possess the provisions to try one of thy healing meals upon it? As discussions grow fruitful, Willem nods along, sipping his ale. 'Tis difficult to say. Without knowing what ailment afflicteth them, I can only guess at what might soothe their uneasy minds. Yet it may be worth the attempt. The glow of his tattoos fades, as does the spectral server. It soundeth as though Samuel could handle the wilders within the town, and thy friend might deal with the creatures ravaging our food stores. I can work on preparing a meal that may yield some answers. He then gestures toward the others. That leaveth Oiji, Nazareth, and Eden. How dost each of these see thyself aiding one another? Nazareth pauses, momentarily taken aback by the man who calls himself a warrior, yet speaks like a cook. He laughs to himself, dismissing the passive threats. He looks toward all present. I plan to undertake the most arduous task, facing the beast head-on, albeit with assistance from the rest of ye. I shall take a large bounty contract for the beast from the Golden Bough. Forge Master, I shall require a sword imbued with power. Cook, I shall need thy recipes to produce a dish that raiseth my physical prowess. 2 such dishes shall suffice. The madness that this creature casteth could turn me against thee all, so which I shall require 3 vials of a potion to protect my mind from such affliction. And warrior, I would have thee share with me thy knowledge of the House of Tiny Lies, and in turn, I shall impart what I have witnessed in my dealings with them. Nazareth places both hands on the table and stands. I believe my request to be reasonable. I offer my aid in ensuring our victory. What say ye all? Zinhera nods slowly at Nazareth's declaration. She sits back, interlacing her fingers. I have recently discovered an elixir that fortifieth the mind. I used it to repair damage already wrought. My tonics are not magical, but derive their power from the properties of chemicals I have learned. I can confidently concoct 2, and they may be thine. I would advise only those of great constitution to partake, so thou shouldst be fine. I promise naught of their effects, for there hath been little time to experiment. Consider them a last resort. Thy slaying of the beast, and thine information on the House of Tiny Lies, shall serve as more than adequate payment. I would ask something in return from a few gathered here, Oiji says after a pause. Samuel, thy chains. I wish to learn the art of wielding such a weapon, for I would craft something akin to thy trusted links myself. Zinhera, thou and Samuel should remain. In light of our previous outing, I believe it prudent that I too stay behind. He turns to Zinhera. I would ask that thou share any knowledge thou gleaneth of the Wilders, and when time permits, allow me to commune with Ayanga. Among us, thou art the only one with any insight into what truly took hold of Darren. I believe thy knowledge, and especially Ayanga's, may aid me in my work, particularly in crafting the new blade I envision. Turning then to Nazareth, Oiji adds, I would ask thine assistance in dismantling the House of Tiny Lies. I care little for their machinations, my lord, but while some here count themselves as enemies, I name them as allies and comrades. As thou hast said, the house left our wolf of the Golden Bough injured. Such an affront I cannot abide. If thou countest me among thy council, then I ask this as thy forge master. A wrong against any of thy subjects is a wrong against thee. Blood drawn is blood owed, is it not? Nazareth looks to Zinhera and nods in acceptance of the 2 vials before turning to Oiji. I can assure thee the annihilation of the House of Tiny Lies, Forge Master. The sword thou tookest from the giant, may it be reforged into gauntlets. Willem's young face wrinkles with thought. He considers the options laid before them. If there is to be a joint effort against the House of Tiny Lies, then sharing information amongst allies can only serve our cause. His thoughts solidify further as he continues. An alchemical meal is no simple task. It taketh more than a mere spoonful to achieve any effect. I shall commit to crafting such a meal from the rations at hand and imbue it with magic. Additionally, I shall accompany thee into the verdant east to combat the beast. 2 warriors are better than 1, and I command far more than that, especially in lands riddled with the dead. Willem turns to Zinhera and Samuel. Do not worry for mine own mind, Zinhera. And Samuel, we shall need any knowledge thou canst glean from the Wilders ere we set forth. Finally, Willem turns to Nazareth. Once we have gathered information and supplies, we should hasten to cut off the beast. Do we agree? Eden sits quietly among the others, attentively listening to their words, aspirations, and debates. As the host of this meeting, she hath resolved to remain impartial, or as impartial as she can manage. Fortunately, tensions remain checked enough to ensure the discussion stayeth focused. I can offer my assistance in the form of healing, supplies, a base of operations, and of course monetary support, she says, her tone calm and measured. This establishment prioritizeth the well-being of the populace above all else. If financial aid may ensure safety, it shall be thine. However, I ask thee to remain considerate in thy requests. Nazareth nods toward Willem. I shall procure the food necessary for thy alchemical dishes. Turning then to Eden, he adds, payment, a twin's rank worth. He looks around the room. It seemeth we have reached accord. I trust all agreements shall be honored so we may proceed to the planning phase. Samuel regards Nazareth coolly. Nazareth's request for information on the House of Tiny Lies still troubleth him. given Nazareth's recent leanings toward loyalty to them. But as he surveys the others gathered, he finds himself among those who bear no love for the house. Perhaps for now, they can work together. Hold a moment, Nazareth. I recall not agreeing just yet. Samuel turns his head, looking directly at the standing figure. If we are to work together to dismantle the House of Tiny Lies, then I see no reason to withhold information, so long as one condition is met. Raising a single finger, he states, I want the disagreeable master alive in my prison. If I have learned aught, it is that the House of Tiny Lies holds many secrets. Not only must the disagreeable master answer for his actions, but he must also reveal them all. Samuel then turns his attention to Oiji. I shall train thee in mind techniques, but it will be no easy task. Strength, stamina, and discipline art required. Samuel looks Oiji up and down, assessing his physical capabilities. We shall make certain thou gainst some muscle ere we are done. A grin tugs at the corner of his lips, his jest apparent. As the group reached a tentative accord, the air in the Golden Bough grew heavy with anticipation. Each rogue present understood the stakes. The survival of the settlement, the eradication of the beast, and the resolution of old debts all hinged on their cooperation. Though their goals varied, their fates were now intertwined. The verdant East and the Tower settlement awaited their choices, and the clock ticked ever forward toward an uncertain future.